Welcome to the Peak Performance Productivity Podcast, revealing what productive peak performers think, say and do, so you too can be productive. With me, your host, Michael Tipper. Hi, it's Michael again, and before we get started on this interview, I think it's important to let you know that occasionally the quality of the audio drops off in this particular interview, and the reason was because there was an internet connection problem. However, we've left the audio as it is because there's not really much we can do about it. However, the content is so good, you'll still be able to hear the content, but just occasionally you'll hear a slightly poorer quality audio. So it's just to let you know that, and it's only for a few small segments of this interview. So enjoy this interview. Now, my guest today is a successful speaker, author, coach and entrepreneur who has herself been in business for over 30 years and who's been developing business leaders through her Steps to Success coaching practice for nearly 15 years. Describing herself as a collaboration catalyst, she's the author of a book, Making a Movement, the Be Collaboration Story, which describes her purpose to inspire and enable the world to collaborate more and chronicles her journey along the way so far. Her dream is to spread the impact of collaboration by creating Be Collaboration groups in every village, town and city, because her belief is that collaboration can empower individuals to be the change the world needs to see. So it's my pleasure to welcome Jill Tiny to the show. Jill, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much for having me, Michael. It's a pleasure to be here.
So my first question is, can you just explain how you go from starting the School People, which is your office supplies business, to becoming someone who is now a collaboration catalyst?
Yes, it feels like it's been a blink of an eye, but in reality, it's like most overnight successes, it's taken a long time. So from my childhood, I always felt I didn't like things that were unfair. And as I grew, I discovered that I liked business, but not actually being in business. I liked working on businesses. So that was a nice little balance for me. And I came from the teaching profession where I was looking after people and nurturing young minds. And then being in business and kind of looking after the business and nurturing the minds in that. And then helping other people to nurture their business and nurture the minds that they had. And then I met up with somebody who was pretty angry with life. And he wanted to change the world like that. And I'm like, it doesn't happen like that. It's not going to happen. So we worked out that, yeah, I know. He was crossed with the education system, the monetary system, the political system, but he wanted to do something about it, but he didn't know what to do. So we were having these conversations with people. So I was very interested in the solution, and I'm more solution focused. And he was very interested in waking people up and sharing what he considered to be the horror of the world and how we needed to take action now. So we started having conversations with people, and they basically said, how do we join? And we went, well, join what? You know, although it's Be Collaboration as it was then, it's now morphed into Collaboration Global. There was no Be Collaboration. It wasn't existing, but we were trying to have those conversations to see where we could take it. So back in 2013, we started meeting up with people. It went from a little group in Hertford to having groups in London and Surrey and Essex and Hertford and Liverpool and down in Devon. And we realized that there was a kind of need. People didn't know what was missing in their life, but they realized there was something that wasn't quite right. And what it was is their genius wasn't being fulfilled and their purpose wasn't being realized. So they were coming together to us to go, well, if we all collaborate, maybe we can do something. Maybe we can change the world. Maybe we can just make each other's lives better. And we're like, well, if that's all we can do, that's a brilliant start. So more or less this time last year, my business partner then decided he wanted to be a bit more of an activist. So he went off to do that. And I kind of had this group of people that were like, well, do you want to carry on, guys? Should we do this? And that's when we reframed it into Collaboration Global. So the essence is in collaboration. The being of who we are is collaboration. And how we go about it is through love, connection, and abundance. It's about changing people's mindsets, changing people's perception and context of who they are, what they're capable of, and what we're capable of together. Now, that might mean that we can create something that will transform our world. But even if all we do is transform businesses along the way, transform people's lives along the way, and transform people's communities to be a better space to live, and move away from this fear mentality, this scarcity, it's not enough to go around, I need to go and earn more money, everyone's living in this stress-filled life. If we can move them from that into that space of abundance, then we truly believe that, well, that's job done. If that's all we can do is that will do for now. So we're not worried about the future. We're just going, this is how it's going for us at the moment. And because it's a collaboration, it's organic. So things are changing and morphing and evolving at a beautiful pace where people are just kind of, the penny is dropping and they're going, oh, my business is so much better when I collaborate. My life is so much better when I understand how to collaborate. And all of a sudden that essence, this magic that nobody can quite put their finger on, is transforming people's lives. And that's it really. So I've always felt there's been this bigger thing in me, but it's the stepping stones that you go through before it all kind of, the pieces of the jigsaw have come together, and it's like, yeah, I'm in a happy place.
I'd like to explore that transition from, so that the strapline to your book is from fear, scarcity and competition to love, connection and abundance. And I'd like to explore that a little bit later on, but what I want to start off with is look at the definition, or your definition of collaboration, because you hear words like cooperation, coordination. What is special about collaboration and the way you collaborate and encourage people to collaborate that's different from those other two words?
Well, we kind of call it true collaboration, and it's bringing together harmony. It's bringing, well, it brings opportunity. And what we say is when 3 or more people come together, it's a magic 3, when that triad comes together, they create something that wouldn't have occurred before. So it's kind of this magic, as I say, this magic ingredient. It's not all woo-woo. What we've noticed over the years is that when 3 people get together, the expectations and the outcomes that they plan for are exceeded by things they never anticipated happening. Because when 3 people come together, they're looking at things from a different perspective. So when you've got 2 people working together, cooperation, well, I'll do that bit, you do that bit, great, awesome. And you've got this kind of responsibility, this duality. But when you put a 3rd person into the mix, the collaboration bubbles up something that nobody could see happening. I'll give you a little example. One of the members is a guy who does certifications like the ISOs, Investors in People, that kind of thing. And he said, did you realize there's one for working collaborative relationships? And I'm like, I did not know that. He said, I think you should have it. I was like, okay, then let's do this. So he volunteered to help us get this done. And he said, it's a piece of cake, it'll be fine. It's only 8 sections. And then there's 4 subsections to each section. And then from there, there's a few more bits and pieces, but we'll shove it together, it'll be fine. He made it sound so simple. There was 2 of us, we were cooperating, right? Now, he's a detail-driven person. He knew his stuff. And I would look at this, all the questions and the categories and the subcategories and the subcategories, and it would make my heart sink. I can't do this. I just can't do this. I had all the information here and in my heart, but we struggled. So we did it for about 3 months trying to pull this together, and it was like wading through mud. So I said to the community, guys, this is killing me. Please, somebody must have this genius in them where you can come and you can make the 3rd person up so we can find the magic. So a lady came who had been part of the policy making operation in Amnesty International. She now works for Article 19. Very clever lady. And basically, he told her what he needed from me. She translated it. I went, oh, I know that. That's easy. So I then told her what we did in order to satisfy all the criteria. She then put it into standard speak, and he put it into the standard. We then got audited. And what was beautiful, and none of us could have seen happening, is the guy that was doing the audit was saying, well, subsection 3.492 and subsection D47, and so much. So do you realize that in a normal company, not that your company isn't normal, but in a normal company, they wouldn't be doing quite as much as you guys are doing. So what we realized is that we had, how we were living, what we were doing and how we'd created it. He then had to look at his standard and goes, well, I've got to make the standard change because you're actually doing above and beyond what's required. So this was when it was the British standard. So when it got transferred into the international standard, our additional bits that went into British standard then went into the international standard. We were like the second company in the world, SME company, to have that international standard, and we had helped to create part of it.
How does that different from, so what I'm hearing there is there's an element of diversity around there. So you've got different thinking styles. You've also got an element of creativity, so multiple inputs creating that. Are those features of effective, how are those features of effective collaboration?
It's not specific like that. What's really the features of the true collaboration is the culture that we work within.
Right.
So we talk about the context of who we are and who we are being. So you'll find in a collaboration, nobody brings their ego to the room. We've had meetings where people have said to us, so who's the ego in the room? I'm like, well, we haven't got anyone. And it's true. Even though there were like 70% of the room were men and you would expect one or two to have an ego. Yes, they did have an ego. Outside the room, they did. But when they came to Collaboration Global, it didn't exist, because it's about, how can I help you? What can I do? How can I make you look awesome? How can I support you so that you fulfill your potential? It's the culture that we build that brings people together from a different space. So if you imagine the sales team are coming together with the marketing team and they've been given a project and they have to do it, they have to cooperate because it's a kind of a win-lose game. Sure. It's like, well, if I give you this, then you win. So what are you going to give so that I can don't lose? Where in our space, there is no win or lose. It's only coming together in a place of love. And I know that's a very soft and woo-woo kind of, oh no, she's talking about love. That's not. It is kind of this space of love, because we want to bring everyone together in order to be successful in what their genius is. And when somebody knows what their genius is, now I'm good at that. I'm love, and it's not just that I'm good at that, but I love doing it, and it's who I am.
Right.
That's why I'm here on planet Earth, to fulfill this thing. And when you see three people working in that space, doing what they love to do, doing what they're meant to do, what they feel is their mission in life, then you get true collaboration. And then what happens is, what we're always looking for is, how are you going to pay it forward?
So you talk about collaboration being the bringing together of like-hearted people. Could you just explain what that means, please?
When you meet someone, you have a little chat and you go, oh yeah, we're on the same page, we think alike. When you meet someone and you're like-hearted, there is an energy, there is, you've heard this expression, you click, I don't know what it is, but we just got on, and it's just, so there's an alignment of your values. And when I say alignment, I'm not saying that your values are the same as my values. It's just, we've had a conversation and it feels good. It feels right. And the more you explore and the more you go into it, it's like, oh, it's like you're a brother from another mother. I just feel like I've known you forever. And it's that kind of like-hearted. Yes, we want to help the world. We want to help individuals. We want to make a difference. That's why we're here. Rather than, so how much do you think we could earn out of this? How much, what percentage are you going to get and what percentage am I going to get? We don't have those conversations. Almost the opposite. It's like, no, you should take more. No, you've done so much more on this project. No, you have the lion's share. That's the difference in being like-hearted. We want the best for the project. We want the best for each other. But again, we want to be able to pay it forward and take that learning so other people benefit as well. It's like the ripples on the pond. That's what we're trying to spread it out and spread out those ripples.
So is collaboration a mindset or a set of behaviours?
Yes.
The reason I ask that question is because I've worked in organisations where people who detest each other but need to collaborate. And the behaviours of support, of encouragement, of because it's like if we don't, then the system, our entity that we're all part of, falls over. So we have to work together in order to work, even though I might despise you or they might despise me. So in that instance, there is an element of behaviours, partly because the environment forces the people together. So they have to do things in order to make the collaboration work. But from a mindset perspective, so can collaboration in the environment you create work along those lines, or does it need to be people who have connected on a mindset level as well?
Yes, I mean it's all possible. Sorry, it's all possible. But if you are working with, if you've been put together, oh, and you don't want it, and you don't like the other person, then you've got to have some honest conversations. If you want it to go with a swing, if you want to love every day you're at work, if you want to enjoy every moment that you're on the project, you've got to have some honest conversations up front, and we call that the rules of the game. And so before any collaboration, whether you are aligned or not aligned, you need to have those rules of the game. So that's when you sit down and go, well, I don't know about you, but when people do this, it really winds me up. And you kind of, you illustrate to each other what your triggers are, you illustrate to each other what your outcome, your desired outcomes are. You talk to each other about, you know, when I'm in a bad way, when life isn't working for me, this is how I behave, so you can look out for it. And it's about being vulnerable. You're talking about a set of behaviors. It's allowing yourself to be vulnerable with this person who you might have seen previously as competition. So it's a bigger ask when you're put together. But if you do the rules of the game beforehand and you have those conversations, it becomes much, much easier. And there is a mindset, because we want the mindset to be curious. We want the mindset to have a sense of adventure, a spirit of generosity, all of these things that we highlight on the website and in the book that's coming up. It's definitely a mindset, but it's a heart set as well. So the behaviors are about respect and trust. And we talk about our values of love and human being first. So if I'm working on a collaboration with somebody, I don't care if they're short or fat or, you know, old or young or blonde or brunette, whatever your difference is, your political persuasion, doesn't matter. You're a human being first. Therefore, I have to make the massive assumption that I love you. And I know most collaborations are talking about business and talking about how much money you can make and what the benefits are and the cost effectiveness and the KPIs and all that kind of thing. But if you come from a place of love, first and foremost, it's so much easier to be vulnerable with each other, to forgive when it goes wrong, to acknowledge when it's going well, to support each other when home life is rubbish. Maybe something's happened at home and the project still has to go on. But if you're able to go into the project and say, look, this has happened to me today, but still carry on, and people have your back, they support you. That's the different mindset around true collaboration. Otherwise, you're just cooperating and going through the motions, and it's really hard. It's like going through mud because you don't want to be there.
Do you find that there are certain environments that are more open to your approach to collaboration? So, for example, as I was thinking how you were describing that, and you're absolutely right, because it's a heart-centered connection between human beings that creates a synergy, that creates whatever you're working at, and to be able to get on and do that effectively is the secret of effective collaboration. And I'm just thinking back to at least one organisation I've worked in where you try and do that, and culturally it would be really difficult to even embrace or suggest that, because the doors would be shut on that. So how do you find these ideas mixing in the different cultures that you will work in?
Well, one of the things I did as a business coach was take the I'm a Practitioner's course with a guy called James Knight, and that basically teaches you how people communicate no matter where they are in the world, no matter what nationality, race, religion, whatever. So that is kind of my background within that. So you can understand how people communicate, and that's half the battle. But again, if you come from a place where, you know, it's not I'm right, you're wrong. It's not this is the way we do it here. It's like this is what might work. And you come from this solution focused space rather than, oh, that's a problem. Oh, I don't think that's going to be a problem. I'm not sure if we can do that. All of that just pulls everything down. But it's like, okay, so this is something. How are we going to, what might we do to solve it? And give each other the respect of listening to their experience and their energy and what they want to do. Interestingly, I was on a discussion earlier on today about feminine and masculine energies. And one of the things that women generally want is to be listened to. Doesn't mean to say you have to necessarily agree, but have the respect to listen to them so that they get that they're valued. And I think in any collaboration, if the people in that room, whether it's 3 or 5 or 10 or 20, if they feel valued, their gender, their sexual orientation, their religion, their race, their nationality, it's moved away to one side, because we kind of go back to we're all in this together. We've all got this role to play. We've all got this job to do, and identifying what you're good at and owning it and understanding the context of your part within the project will mean that your generosity of spirit and mankind will come together to create it. Now, this isn't be all and end all. This isn't, oh, you follow these rules and you get perfect collaboration. That's, because we're human beings and we all muck up and we all make mistakes. But this is just what we've seen over the last probably 8 or 9 years. And for me, going back further, when I see things that aren't fair or don't work out or it's clunky or it's not quite, I've always analysed it. I've always looked at why. How could we have done it differently? And I think half the battle is somebody gets upset because they weren't heard. And if we can stop that and nip that in the bud and be respectful of each other and trust each other, then half the battle is won, and then you can make that difference.
I think the energy issue is really quite important. So talking about male and female energy, and not the gender base, but the energy base. You've got the very harsh, very sort of driven, focused masculine energy. Then you have this more connective, empathic, feminine energy. And again, this isn't a gender issue. This is an energy issue. Yeah. But if we overlay gender on that, do you find that women tend to be better collaborators than men? I may be opening a can of worms here, but from what you're saying energetically.
It seems to be the case. Although ironically, when we first started, we had a lady come to the meeting and she sort of sidled up to me and she went, "So Jill, where are all the ladies here?" And I hadn't even thought about it at that point. I was oblivious to it. And then I looked around the room and like 90% of them were men. Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, I don't know. Where are all the ladies? And it might be that the men were attracted to the idea of collaboration because they didn't know how to do it. Yeah. And maybe the women felt that they were natural collaborators. So obviously everyone can do that. We don't have to come to it. But actually now we're more evenly balanced. I think it's something like 60-40. And the women do seem to do it more naturally, because their position in society has meant that we are very good at listening, because we're not often allowed to have our say. You go into a boardroom and usually the woman that speaks last, apparently, according to a lot of the surveys and things that are done. There are so many boards that don't even have women on it, so you don't even get to have your say. So women are very good at sitting back. A classic example, right? I was in a car, 2 guys sat at the front, I was sat in the back, and the guy driving said, "I've got this problem, blah, 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 blah. What do you think I should do?" So I just piped up, did da, 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 da. And they went, yeah. And the other one went, "Oh, but blah, 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 blah." And he carried on talking. And both of them were talking to each other. And I'm like, "I've just given you the solution, but I wasn't even acknowledged. I didn't, oh, that's a good idea, Jill." None of that. It just was, they heard what they had to say and they were off. So I literally went like this and I timed, it was 25 minutes they were talking to each other. We got to the venue and the other one said, to finish off the conversation, he said exactly what I had said at the beginning. And I was like, "You're joking me, yeah? You're kidding." I said that at the very beginning. You could have saved yourself 25-minute conversation if you had acknowledged what I'd said. Sure. And they're like, "Oh yeah, oh." But that's what we get used to as women. That's what has been our experience of not being heard. So I think a feminine energy in any collaboration, of giving each other the respect of listening, and not just listening with an intent to reply, listening with a real understanding and getting what they're saying.
I think what I'm hearing from this is that collaboration requires, if we just think on energetic levels, there are strong feminine energetic traits, strong masculine traits that properly, in the right recipe, enables collaboration. I think I'll just hopefully shut the door on potentially a difficult conversation there. But it was interesting that you were talking about that. And I think that if I think about some of the best teams I've been part of where there has been great collaboration, and this is just in my time in the Navy and in time working predominantly male environments, and where I've worked in environments where there's been a good blend of all forms of diversity, that those teams where they work better, there are consistent traits, regardless of gender, that do balance both male and feminine energetic traits. So I think that hopefully that's put that under, draw a line under that conversation. So, because there are nurturing things. I mean, if you read anything about any of the special forces, for example, they're whilst they're going out to do a very difficult job, there's a lot of empathy, understanding, and listening and collaboration that goes on there. And whilst they probably wouldn't maybe label it like that, but a lot of those traits are there to make those sort of organisations work really well. So what I want to do is engage in this sort of topic of productivity, because on your website you talk about if you join the Collaboration Academy, for example, your productivity will go through the roof. So if we take so I take my position, so I work for myself. I don't work with a big team. I do work with others depending on the work I'm doing. So how would my productivity go through the roof by more collaboration?
Okay. And it comes back to the magic 3 again. And one of the things that we focus on in Collaboration Global is accountability. So we're all very, very good at writing our to-do list and then kidding ourselves that we've had a good day at work. It's fine. I did an awful lot. I got the first 3 things done on my list, although there were 20 things on the list. So when you start having an accountability buddy, which some people do, you get comfortable with that person, and that's fine so long as you're still being productive. And I think if you can't do anything, have one other buddy, so that you make a quick phone call Monday morning, another quick phone call, 15 minutes is great. And I've done that. I did that for about 18 months and it was amazing. But you bring the 3rd person in,
right,
and there's no messing. It's like, come on, because what's happened then is with that triangle, and again, in the culture of Collaboration Global, it's coming together with love. So when somebody is trying to pull the wool over your eyes, you can come to them with love and say, could I challenge you about that? And it's like, okay. And that's the time when you can give them some coaching, you can give them some additional support, you can highlight what you think might be the situation. And basically what we're after is those 3 people are ensuring that each other reaches their full potential. So if you know somebody is kind of crying off of that space and it's like, oh, it doesn't matter, oh, I don't really, I'll do it next week, oh, I'm a bit tired, oh, I can't be bothered, oh, it's Christmas, whatever the reason, and they go, well, actually, at the beginning of our relationship 3 months ago, you said that you really wanted to get this done because it was important to you because of this, this, and this. So how can I help you to make sure that you fulfill what your commitment was? Because I want you to have your integrity intact. So we come to every situation with love, but accountability, as far as productivity is concerned, is a real key factor.
Will these be people working on the same project? Sorry for interrupting.
It can be individuals. So this can be your own personal stuff. So we have a lot of the collaborators ringing each other every week, and it can be about their business. It could be about it might be like, I want to lose half a stone in the next 6 weeks. Right. Okay, right. So how are you going to do that? And then you keep them accountable for what they've asked you to keep them accountable for. But you do the same for them. But when there's 3 of you, it just means that there's no cozy, oh, well, don't worry about that. You don't need to do that. There's a challenge, and there's it's this kind of shoulders back. Come on, let me help you. How can we get through this together? And it's just pulling each other up by the bootstraps and making sure that the collaboration amongst the 3 is a love shared experience. So it's positive, but at the same time, we really want you to do what you're going to do. So in your heart, you don't want to let them down. You don't want to have that phone call and go, no, I think I didn't do it. I can't be bothered. Is that you living to your best life? Is that you making the impact that you want to give to the rest of the world, to as many people as possible? It's like, yeah, I'll do it next week. That's not the attitude that we have within our collaborations. It's like, no, I'm going to commit to this and it's going to happen. I don't know how it's going to happen, but these 2 are going to make sure that it happens for me. And then together you are really pushing yourselves, not to an extent where your mental health is fractured, but to that extent that, I know you're better than this. I know you can do this. How can I help you get this done? Because that's the commitment to each other that makes your productivity go, because you don't want to let them down. I can let myself down easy as anything. I could probably let you down. If we were to ring each other once a week, I'd find your little weak spots and I'd be like, oh, Michael, how's it going? And I'd find the reasons. I could easily manipulate things. Most of us can. But when there's 3 of you, You don't want to let them down.
Do the dynamics of that change if those three people are working on the same thing and there is a need for everyone to perform at the certain level in order to create whatever it is they're working together?
I think it can be done in the same way, but then I think you have to delve a little bit deeper, and it's not just the project, it's what do you personally want to get out of this project. So you're all you've got each other's back in order for them to get what they want to get out of this project. So for example, we had a lovely trio, a guy who was a career counsellor, and he used to basically help people that have been made redundant to review their CVs and make sure they got interviewed right and got the next job. And he met up with a lady who did games for board level directors in order to see their world in a better way. And another lady who was great at articulating all these things together. So the three of them got together, and they were passionate about helping young people in education to get the job that they wanted to have because that was their genius. So the three of them together had an ulterior motive, although it was one project and actually they were going to make money out of it and it was great and they were going to put it into schools and it could have gone across the UK, and I think it's still growing, but ultimately they wanted to get the benefit for each other because they were really passionate about getting this message into schools so that these young people could go out and get the job that they really deserved.
What so if I'm looking to someone to collaborate with along the lines you're suggesting, what are the three things I should maybe look out for to say this person is, or I say look out for, feel for, maybe use it because I think there's a like-hearted is a term you used earlier on. What should I be reaching out for or looking for, being present to say this person actually could potentially be a good collaboration partner for me?
Well, generally, I would say have a conversation around what their values are in life. Mm-hmm. You don't have to have the same values by any stretch of imagination, but at least some that are aligned. And then find out what are you passionate about? What makes your heart beat faster? What's your desire in life? What do you see as your legacy to leave behind? Have those deeper conversations. And if you get inspired by their answers, if you get thrilled by what they're saying, you get excited, then that's the person that you're going to want to work with. I've worked with a few people that I've gone, yeah, it should be okay. Well, then I regretted it, unless I was really inspired by, oh my goodness, if I could work, I'd work for them for nothing because I love what they're out to achieve and what they want to do. And, the money is irrelevant. You still need to make a living. Now, don't get me wrong, you need to get some money, but it's be inspired by the person that you're working with because you want to learn from them as well. If every day you're going to go and you're going to be part of a project and you want to hug them at the end of every day because the day's been such fun and you've been inspired by them and you've learned from them and they have learned from you, that's perfect. Absolutely perfect.
What gets in the way of that happening?
Ego.
Right. Define what you mean by that.
There, you can almost see an ego walk through the door. It's this kind of, yeah, I know, I'm clever. I'm, classic narcissist. I'm right, you're wrong. Why are you not listening? You listen to me because I know what I'm talking about. And when you say something, their response is like, that's ridiculous. What are you talking about that for? It's this putting you in your place, putting you down, this ego that's I'm the best thing ever. I mean, you talk about ego, you think Donald Trump, don't you? And it's not it's not a good place. It's not pretty. It doesn't serve and it's not accessible. The minute somebody has that attitude, there's this nervousness, there's this barrier that they're putting up that you have to get through before you're going to have a meaningful conversation. If there's an ego in the room and somebody wants to be creative and try stuff out, and the ego says, oh, that's ridiculous, all of a sudden cutting down on creativity. The same with vulnerability. If somebody tries something out and it fails and the ego has a go at them, then they're not going to try stuff out again because they don't want to fail, they don't want to be vulnerable and have to go, oops, I made a mistake. And we all make mistakes, but that's part of the beauty of a collaboration. They get consensus. It's like, I think this is going to work. I'm not sure. Is it all right if I give it a go? What do you think? Discussion. But if there's an ego in the room, it's like, what do you want to do that for? Oh my goodness. And it cuts down on every bit of genius that anybody might have. And I don't know if you've ever been in that room with that person, but you don't
Yeah.
even want to speak.
How familiar are you with the work of Carol Dweck with Fixed and Growth Mindset?
No, don't know at all.
Oh, really? Because what you were talking there is that the collaboration environment, one of trial and error and acceptance of mistakes and understanding and recognition and support, is just the perfect example of what Carol Dweck calls a growth mindset. And the barrier you've described is this concept of the fixed mindset. So, and as you were talking about, I thought you must know this work because it's almost like you've described it perfectly. So,
Yeah.
what is the best example for you personally that you've had? Let's put down into like not say pounds, shillings, and pence, but if you talk about business, so you've mentioned how
Mm.
you created the standard with your colleague earlier on. But how have you seen good collaboration actually generate some really good business because of the effective collaboration?
Um, oh gosh, there's so many you can think of. I'm just trying to. Well, a classic one that was really interesting is a guy was one of our members for probably the best part of 2 years. And we were talking about his business, and he was frustrated, and it wasn't going the way he wanted it to. And he didn't know how to make it better. And different people were coming together to help him. And a few of us went to an event. I think it was Roger Hamilton. I can't even remember what the event was now. And he had this kind of light bulb moment. And but this light bulb moment had been created by all of the people having conversations with him about what he should do with his business. And he said, I've been sitting on a domain name for 10 years and I've done nothing with it. He said, now I know exactly what to do with it. So he utilized the community to get everything done to start up this brand new business alongside his existing business. So he had people who were speakers for this new business. He had people that were doing financing for this new business. He put an event up for the launch. We showed up for that. We supported him. There were so many things that happened around that brand new business that when I look back and think, well, if he tried to do that all on his own, it was never going to come. But people believed in him because we'd had those ongoing conversations. And so even though they didn't know he had this domain name, he'd had this struggle with, oh, there's more in me. I don't know what my genius is. I don't know what I should be doing. But he had those conversations, and then when it all came together, it just ignited, and he was off. He did it. He got his financial advisor exams done in about 6 weeks, where most people take like a year, because he
Right.
was just so fired up with everything that he needed to do. So, and from that, I mean, pounds, shillings, and pence, I think he's raised something like £3 million now,
Right.
and that business is ready for sale. So he's looking for people to buy at a very healthy sum. So, and it's happened all relatively quickly, and it was all done in order to sell it. But it was just fascinating to watch his journey from zero to like this epiphany I've had. Really, all on your own, was it?
I think the beauty of, or the big attraction for me from a productivity perspective, because that's what I'm all about, is this leverage of the collective. So 1+1 is more than 2 because of the overlapping skills, the synergy you can get, and the connections. Where
Yeah.
would you recommend, outside Collaboration Global, of course, where would you recommend people to explore potential collaboration partners if they're maybe working for themselves, they're on their own, that they feel the need for some form of connection? Because I know you talk a lot about the power of the human connection as a way of just enriching our soul. What would you advise people to do to look for potential collaboration partners?
Well, if you are a solopreneur, a one-man band, so to speak, you probably don't realize it, but you already have a team around you. And it's connecting up with those more deeply. So you've got an accountant. Do you only see him once a year? You've got a web designer who you probably go to every so often. When was the last time you spoke to them? You've probably got a partner or good friends who you tell about your business, but you're not really sure how much you can share with them and what you want to say. But if you ask them and get more involved with their talent and what they offer you, and what can actually be grown from your business, there's lots of different ways that you can pull them closer to you, because you need a team. So in Collaboration Global, everyone knows I've got my dream team. So that's 3 other people that support me, and they come together because they go, this is what you need. Oh, you've missed that. Oh, I spotted you could have done with that. And you don't always see it yourself. So if you're on your own, even somebody like yourself, Michael, where you've gone into businesses and you've helped people with productivity, why would anyone let you go? Because you've helped them once, you now know what their business is all about. So they should keep you close, because you're going to be able to help them so much more easily next time. You are a collaborator ready to happen. You're just waiting there in the sidelines to support them. And I think any business needs to be aware that so much more can be done when you've built your team around you. So whether that's your business coach, or whether that's your bookkeeper, or the person that helps you with your blogs or does your social media, all of these people, just bring them closer to you and tell them what the culture is of your company, help them to understand what your genius is, because you cannot do everything and you need people around you. So for example, we have an online publication called The Quest, and somebody came up with, oh, brilliant idea, why don't we have an online publication? That'd be fantastic. There's 6 people now that have emerged from the sidelines to go, can I help with that? I'd love to help with that. Oh, I think you need some more help with that. Jill, why are you doing that? Somebody else should be doing your bit in that. And all of a sudden, there's this miracle team that has emerged, and the quality of this magazine, I shouldn't really call it a magazine, it makes it sound a bit like hello, but it's an online publication that really typifies us and is fantastic for our social media and for our content and our reach. But these guys have come together, and it's like once a quarter, it just all happens by magic all around us, all these people that come together to create this. So it's knowing who are your nearest and dearest, including your family. If you have teenagers, you've got slave labor. It's fantastic.
And IT experts as well with the teenagers.
Mostly, exactly. So pull them in on your dream. What is your dream? And articulate that. Tell them what you want the outcome to be, and literally say, will you help me? This is the culture of my business. This is what I want to achieve, and I think you're the person that can help me. And some people will do it for free. Some people will charge you a little bit for it. But knowing that you've got those people, you can just enter a telephone and you can have that conversation with them. It's collaboration at its simplest form, but we can't do it on our own. And my favourite quote is from Margaret Mead, an anthropologist, who said, never doubt that a small group of committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it is the only thing that ever has. So understanding that you might feel like you're on your own, but you need to be proactive to get a good support team around you, so that these collaborations will just bubble under. And before you know it, you go, oh, I could work with, and then we could, and then maybe we could, and before you know it, you've got a marketing campaign set up, or a workshop sorted out, or another product to add to your armory. I mean, a classic one in our space is we had a surveyor and a stationery guy sitting next to each other at a meeting for months on end. And I was like, you do realise he's got this database of the UK schools, and you do work for schools, and you can get grants for schools. So the 3-way collaboration between you and schools and building projects for the schools for nothing. This is a marriage made in heaven. Why are you two not talking to each other? And they're like, oh yeah, because most people don't see what's right in front of their very nose.
Sure.
They have to have it painted for them.
You mentioned there this asking, and you mentioned vulnerability earlier on, because it takes vulnerability to be able to do that. There will be some people, I have a friend, for example, who might struggle with that level of vulnerability. And this is what my friend has told me anyway.
Your friend?
Yeah, my friend. This vulnerability of, I suppose, revealing potential weaknesses, or just putting things out there when there is a culture of people very easily slamming those who show vulnerability, or when you get the likes, or the press tend to have a field day with people sometimes. So what's your advice to my friend who might sometimes struggle with asking for help? And I'll tell them.
Okay. I think it's choose wisely.
Right.
And I think it starts again with those kind of conversations around what your dream is, what your ultimate mission is in life, what legacy you want to leave, what values you hold dear. Being brave enough to just have that kind of conversation over a glass of wine or a cup of tea, and just kind of feel for those people. So you go to your accountant and you have that end of year check up on everything that's going, and you're having conversation, and if you're lucky he's giving you a nice cup of tea and a biscuit. Be brave. And if it's a good accountant, he would have asked you that anyway. Where are you going with your business? What do you want to achieve? How do you see this coming? And you use that as an opportunity to talk about their business and see what they want to do as well, and find out how brave they are being and how ambitious they are being, and go, do you know what? It's very similar to my space. It's something I've always wanted to do. And you know, what are your values? Because my values, you know, I'm really big on love and collaboration and human being first. And so what are your values? What matters to you? And people might say it's education, it's, you know, I'm passionate about whatever their passion is. And then you get this kind of synergy of like, oh, I like you. And it's that first space of being open and honest at a deeper level, rather than, oh, how's your wife? Oh, she's fine, actually.
Definitely.
You know, all that kind of superfluous stuff, that small talk that we keep safe. It keeps that little comfort zone around us. And then when you move into the deeper conversation, you are opening yourself up a little bit to vulnerability.
Sure.
But just try it, because the depth of value that you can mine from being a vulnerable person, just once, try it once, and all of a sudden the barriers come down from the other side. They will be equally as vulnerable as you, and they will talk about things they've probably never spoken to another human being about, because
Sure.
we're British, we don't do that sort of thing, do we?
I'm going to make sure my friend watches that answer several times to get that message. Definitely. Jill, you shared loads of great insights and great tips on collaboration. If there was one thing that you would recommend to someone with the angle of making them more productive, and by productivity that's about getting more out of life, what would that one thing be in regards to collaboration?
Oh, that's a lovely question. My mind is now going so many things. One thing, that's mean. I think know what your purpose is in life, and if you're not sure, go and find out. There's plenty of people that can help you with that. Collaboration Global can help you with that, but know what your purpose is, and then you have your context for life, and then you're more driven. And then when you see what you need to do, why you're here on this planet, what your genius is, why you're so gifted in an area that you probably think, oh, everyone can do that. They can't. Trust me, they can't. You have this special gift that other people probably do a little bit, but you do it because it's like breathing. It's so easy for you. So you need to exploit that gift and that genius you have. So understand what your purpose is, and then attract other people to you, and collaborations happen. It's so, you'll be falling over them, and you'll be falling over people that want to help you fulfill that purpose. But until you can articulate it, how the hell are they going to know? How the hell are they going to realize that they can collaborate with you on a similar thing that they are also passionate about? And when you've got three people passionate about the same thing, productivity goes through the roof, because you don't even know what time of day it is. When you're working on something you love, all of a sudden it's like, oh my God, it's 1 o'clock in the morning. When did that happen? I thought it was only 2 o'clock in the afternoon. We haven't even eaten. It's literally that empowering. Now, I'm not advocating you work all hours.
No, of course.
Because that's, you know, but at the same time, when the clock becomes irrelevant, because you're just doing what you're passionate about, what you love, and what's in your genius, and you're so good at it, you're killing it, then these collaborations just help everything to become better. And if you know how to collaborate really, really well, everything is much easier. Cooking Christmas dinner, for goodness sake. You know, you've usually got an army of people go, well, I'll do the Brussels sprouts, and I'll get the dinner, you know, I'll do the turkey and all the rest of it. When you can coordinate that, because you're used to collaboration, bang, 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 piece of cake. Again, other people's productivity goes through the roof because you understand it and you get it. So I think first things first, understand what your purpose is. If you're not sure, find out, because everyone has it. It's in there somewhere. And then attract other people with the same purpose. And when there's three of you doing the same mission, your productivity goes through the roof, because they are joining you and you're all helping each other. Don't do it on your own. It's a bit boring.
I'll tell my friend to watch that bit of the video as well. Jill, that's fantastic. Where can people find out more about you and the work that you do?
Oh, please, please, please come to a Collaboration Global meeting. We have them on the last Tuesday of the month, 3 till 5. It's 2 hours. of fun, a giggle. We talk about collaboration, we talk about personal development, we have interactions. You can't really sit in the corner. We want you to get involved. We have breakout rooms. It is fun. Come and feel the energy. Just
Brilliant.
come and feel how people who want to help each other hang out. And it's great fun. So that is Collaboration Global. You can find that on Eventbrite. We've got our meetings on there. Or if you go to collaborationglobal.org, that's the website, and you can see the little meeting button, and you can book a meeting on there as well. Lots more information on there. And if you want to get hold of me particularly, Gill, Gill, at collaborationglobal.org. Love to have an email from you.
Fantastic. I'll make sure all that information goes on the show notes. Gill, thank you so much for your time. It's been really insightful, and my friend's really going to enjoy watching this.
I love it. Thank you.
Thanks, Gill. Thank you for tuning into this episode of the Peak Performance Productivity Podcast. Being a productive peak performer is about developing strong and long-lasting habits. Get your free habit installation kit from 5minutehabitkit.com right now, where you'll be able to permanently install any habit you choose in under 5 minutes a day with this proven 3-step system. They are surprisingly easy to install with this free kit once you know how. And if you've got just one thing from today's episode that you can use, then please like, share, subscribe, comment or review to show your appreciation to today's guest. Until next time.